So I was already nervous when Sharon told me that I'm the last talk of the day and I am literally between you and wine. And then Michaela gave an amazing inspirational speech, and I thank you for sharing that with us, Michaela. Throughout today's conference, we have heard from pioneers, leaders, and visionaries about how they've sculpted their journeys, how they've changed cultures, how they've made a difference. I want to talk now about sculpting our future and how we can bring allies to a cause. But first, I want to introduce you to one of the most tenacious diseases in the history of the world, the disease of power, and its most common accompanying symptom, that of entitlement. Now, some may be asking, why is this important in our quest for gender equity and gender equality? Let me explain. Power is attractive. Power is the goal. Power is what's needed to make things work, right? Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Once those who have power or are in near proximity of power, an interesting process kicks in. They start to expect this in every aspect of their lives. They then build systems to sustain power. We see this in every field and discipline. Politicians gerrymander districts, restricting the right to vote to only their supporters. Gatekeepers in healthcare organizations, medical societies, medical journals, and funders overtly or implicitly ignore the evidence that their policies and procedures are biased. Now, as doctors, we're in the practice of diagnosing, assessing prognosis, and treating disease. Let's use these skills today. Diagnosis. Research studies over the last 2 to 3 decades clearly show that gender bias exists and are worse for those at the intersections of race, gender, and class. Throughout history, in every civilization and culture across the globe, women have been treated as second-class citizens. They're not the only ones, but yes, they have not been treated as equals. Prognosis. Now, some out there may say, but Tom, we started making progress. Why not let nature take its course? Why not let the host's natural immunity take care of the disease? My answer, yes, we have made some progress, but the pace is glacial. According to the World Economic Forum, at the current pace in the United States, gender equality will be achieved in 208 years. In the most gender equal country in the world, Iceland, it's 108 years. In 2018, worldwide, the economic gender gap narrowed a little bit, but we saw significant setbacks in access to health and education and political empowerment. If we do nothing, if we just let nature take its course, the prognosis is not good. Treatment. And now comes the most fascinating aspect of the discussion. We actually have an effective intervention that can help us achieve gender equality. It is the concept of feminism. Feminism is the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of political, social, and economic equality for everyone. Equal opportunity. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. But an interesting phenomenon happens when you mention the word feminism. The system fights back. The inherent genetic makeup of the system kicks into action, and the resistance genes of the power disease engage. There are many, but let's explore 3 of them. The first resistance gene we call emotional mayhem. Associate a word with what you don't like with imagery that is meant to strike fear. So when you say the word feminism, you get the association of angry mobs of women marching, decapitating men, and of a movement, if left unchecked, will lead to the complete destruction of the world, complete anarchy. Now, when that doesn't work, the next resistance gene kicks in. It's called the contrast gene, as illustrated by the words, "You should be grateful." In our days, women were meant to be seen and not heard. You should be grateful for what you have. In our training program, we have never had a woman in our program. You should be grateful that we gave you a few days off to have your baby. It's not like he did anything physical. He was just making a joke. Let's move on. You should be grateful. A third resistance gene is what we call be patient, illustrated by the words, wait your turn. He has been in our department for 30 years. I know that you're the principal investigator of 2 funded grants. You generated a lot of clinical work and have mentored countless junior faculty members, but you're kind of young to be division chief. Be patient, wait your turn. We are living in a world with so much turmoil and uncertainty. Do we really need a radical choice? The country isn't ready for its first woman president. Be patient, wait your turn. Emotional mayhem, the contrast gene, the be patient gene. Sadly, the words used to justify these resistance genes are no different than the words used to justify power throughout the history of the world. It is my birthright to be king. Who are you to tell me that I don't deserve this? Here's the kicker. It actually takes a lot of work to sustain power, to maintain the status quo of gender inequality. Research studies across different disciplines have clearly shown that a gender equal work environment leads to lower levels of job turnover and lower levels of attrition. In those countries that are viewed as more gender equal, there's less rigidity into which genders should be the wage earners and which genders should shoulder the responsibility for childcare and housework, and amazingly higher scores on the validated happiness scale. People lead more promising and fulfilling lives. And across the globe, research studies have shown that a gender equal world is what the vast majority of men say they wish to achieve. Transparency in expectations, salary, and evaluations. More feedback about performance. Feedback that is fair, timely, actionable, and leads to meaningful results. So why the current situation? The disease of power. Those who have it don't want to give it up. Those who are in near proximity of it build additional defense mechanisms preventing changes in the system. If your worth in life is tied to a title, you are not leading a worthwhile life. So, what can we do about the current situation? How do we overcome the power disease and the resistance genes? We raise awareness. We change the culture. We need to act. A, acknowledge the fact that every human and system has biases. Learn to recognize them, learn to overcome them. C, collaborate. There are many allies out there who want to change the world for the better. Search for them in your own departments, in your own institutions, at other institutions. Connect through social media. Learn together. Share your knowledge. Course correct as needed. T, transform data into action. Collect our data at each of our own institutions. Organize diversity and inclusion change teams that can then implement action items from the data. Know your data, understand your data, translate that data into action. We need to act. Let me end by asking the following questions. Do you believe that there may be more than one idea or viewpoint that can contribute to a conversation? Do you believe that every human life has value and that humans should be treated with respect and dignity? And should we be creating a better world where that value is celebrated, cherished, and recognized? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, you believe in the concept of feminism. And as feminists, let's all work together to create a better world. Let's all act. And for the men out there, creating a gender equal world will make your lives better too. Thank you.